Hello, wonderful people. Welcome back to the channel once again. Thanks to everybody that has been supporting. We're going to talk about the effect of heavy metals on human body as the next step for the training. But before that, I want you to look at this publication and just think about it. Are you part? Have you gone to check your vitals? Where do you stand? I'm just creating awareness and nothing else. All right, so let's dive into the topic for the day: effect of heavy metals on humans. Now we have these neurological disorders. We have the kidney damages that is coming in, risk of cancers, and then reproductive health. Now, under reproductive health, we look at the effects. What does it, when we say reproductive health, we are looking at heavy metals having effect on our sperm count, sperm mobility, that is how it's moved, and sperm viability, the viability of our sperms as males. We look at the sperm morphology, the structure of it. Okay, these are some of the things that heavy metals cause. It changes even the structure of our sperm. It also disrupts hormonal imbalances. Okay, so the hormonal regulations that sometimes also have effect on the menstrual cycle of our ladies. It also increases the risk of infertility. So when we talk of heavy metals, it has direct effects on us. Now we're going to take some of these metals into perspective, each one of them, and then we'll look at how it affects us directly. So let's dive in. So these are some of the effects that lead toxicity cause us as humans. We can see the reproductive problems, the reduced growth, the anemic, the speech, language, and behavior problems. We look at the brain, nerve damage. So it's very, we look at kidney damage, high blood pressure. So high exposure or long exposure to lead and lead toxicity, this is what it gives us. These are the benefits, which are effects. They are not good. So they are effects and it's very bad. We look at the effect it has on our kids. Okay, if you find it in children, hearing losses, bone muscle deteriorations, also kidney, the low growth, and then also brain and nervous damage, which again, it doesn't look good for us. We look at copper poisoning. When you are being poisoned by copper, these are some of the various, signs and symptoms that you might be exhibiting. And intestinal, you might be having diarrhea, which may be bloody as well. So we need to look at it. And kidneys, you might not have a urine production. This doesn't look good in any way. This doesn't look good. We need to really be careful. Now, when we talk of arsenic, we can see all forms of cancer: the lung cancer, the cervical, prostate cancer. Very, very dangerous. Prostate cancer, arsenic toxicity leading to prostate cancer, bladder cancer, so kidney cancer. Most of the cancers are being attributed to this heavy metal, which again, guys, it doesn't look good. So we need to be very careful as a country, as a people, as a nation. Effects of zinc. When we look at zinc, it increased risk of prostate cancer again. So guys, the males, prostate cancer, and we can see that. Now let me chip this in here. How healthy your soil is determines how healthy as a human you are. So if your soils are not healthy, definitely the human is not healthy. Now I will dive into this statement later on in a different trading that we'll go through it and we understand what I'm trying to say better. But basically, you could see that we are having more of these problems in our country currently because our soils get damaged more and more often now. Okay, our soils are being damaged more and more often now, especially by the introduction of these heavy metals through mining activities especially. And this brings about the high risks of many diseases that we find. Beforehand, we used not to have them, or maybe it wasn't, maybe light was not thrown on it, but now it's a major issue. Now look at mercury. You see, I have a special soft spot, I'll take it that way, for mercury, because mercury has a very, very devastating effect. As you can see, these are the various effects that it has on the human body, the short term and then the long term as well. Now, let me take you to one aspect that is serious to me, the neurological aspect for a pregnant woman who has been exposed to mercury, okay, high exposure, or has ingested in mercury. Now, it affects the brain of the child, as you can see on your screen. So you can see that when the neuron is being developed, the normal or healthy neuron growth is smooth, straightforward. But when there is mercury affected growth cone, you will see that it's been dispersed, it's broken. So already before the child will be born, the child has had a very bad effect. Now the question is, those of you especially who talks about human rights, what human rights aspect are we talking about for this child? Okay, let's look at some other effect that it has on pregnant women or pregnancy. So aside from the brain damage and the cognitive and inhibit, you can also say that it can have effect on the low birth weight, the weight of the child, in as much as also stillbirth. It can also even cause stillbirth. So this is not something that we need to joke with when we talk about mercury or when we talk about any heavy metal. It is very, very serious to our health. We need to wake up as a people and then deal with this once and for all. Other than that, with the next generation, we don't know what will happen to them. We can't determine what will happen to them. We might have to use robots in everything that we are doing, because at the end of the day, there won't be any human being left for the next 50, 100, 200 years, because we are going to be full of people with brain damages, and that is not something that we want as a nation. Now, as we established last week, some of these heavy metals, mercury for instance, are very volatile and then mobile. Okay, so that is how come it's very crucial for us to understand some of these things. What I'm trying to do is to create awareness, and then we find sustainable solutions to some of these problems. So next week, join us as we find sustainable solutions to these problems, and then we'll look at how don't miss next week training, because it's all about how we're going to solve this heavy metals problem sustainably for you and I and our kids and the next generation to benefit from it. This is Humble Empire, still solving problems with passion. Shalom.